again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I have got a really cool crescent shawl that I came up with a pattern for. I call it the Filet Swirl Crescent Shawl. Yes, very, very easy once you get into the repeat, which is only a 4-row repeat. So it's really, really simple. It's one of those patterns that you really don't have to pay a heck of a lot of attention to, which is awesome. And for today's piece, I used Red Heart Super Saver Ombre. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but of course I like to let you know what it is that I use in case if you want to duplicate the results. I used about 2 skeins of this yarn, and for those of you that are not familiar with it, it is about 482 yards, and it is 100% acrylic, and the colorway is True Blue. And the reason why I wanted to use this is because of the filet pattern. Whenever you're doing certain patterns of, garments, shawls, what have you, when you're doing filet, I would strongly suggest, the personal suggestion, not using a quick change variegated yarn. That's why I wanted a nice ombre for that. Same thing applies for when you're doing textured stitches. The texture kind of gets lost if the yarn color is a little too busy, but this I thought was perfect. Now, for today's example, I'm going to be using, I'm pretty sure that this is also one of the Red Heart Super Saver Ombres, and this is, I believe, the teal colorway, if I'm not entirely mistaken. I could be. It is a weight of 4, so I'm going to be using a size 6mm hook. It is a J crochet hook for today's piece. Now, you can use, of course, whatever works best for you. And without further ado, let's get started. All right, first things first with row 1. Going to start off with a slip knot and a chaining up of 4. And that's going to count actually as sort of a magic ring starter and a double crochet. Now, you could, of course, do a magic ring. You could do a chaining of 4 and a slip stitch to create a ring. Honestly, I like this method best. I think it's simple and it works. So chaining up a 4 and then 7 double crochets into that first chain. So we'll have a total of 8 double crochets for row 1. And I tell you, when I was trying to figure out how to create this pattern, oh, there were many, many attempts and false starts, let me tell you. Woo! Frogging so much, it was like a frog farm. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. All right, and so how many do we have here now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I just need 2 more in total for our total of 8 double crochets. And then you can pull your tail and cinch that up. And then later you can sew in the end, no problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Okay, so that is row 1. Row 2, start by chaining up 5, and that's going to count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn the work, and not into this first stitch, but into the next stitch. Double crochet. So we have 2 double crochets separated by a chain 2 space. And that's actually how we're going to continue on for the rest of row 2. Chain 2, double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 2, double into the next stitch. Chain 2, double into the next. Chain 2, double into the next. Chain 2, double into the next. Chain 2, and double into the last. And it's sort of hiding at the end here, but we need to get in there. So underneath both strands of the V, it can be a little bit fiddly, but it gets easier as we keep going, believe you me. There we are. So we have the same number of double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, separated by chain 2 spaces. All right, let's keep going. All right, row 3. Okay, now typically when you're starting off with a double crochet, you would chain up 3. However, again, I like to mix things up a little bit. I only like to chain up 2. I think it makes it look just a little bit neater on the edges. So again, dealer's choice. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. This is how I'm doing it. So chain up 2, and I go a little bit loose on that chaining up of 2, makes it a little bit nicer. So after chaining up 2, double crochet into the chain 2 space. So we now have 2 doubles at the edge. Chain 2, and then double crochet into the double, and double crochet into the chain space. And then chain 2, double in the double, and double into the chain space. And we're going to do this all the way across. So our stitches, they're going to be slowly shifting as we go. Chain 2, double in the double, and then double in the chain space. Chain 2, double in the double, double in the chain space, chain 2, double in the double, double in the chain space, chain 2, double in the double, double in the chain space, chain 2, and then in the third chain from the bottom, 1, 2, and 3, double crochet. Now, because we have pairs of double crochets, we need a pair at the end as well. So double in that same stitch that we just did, right in here into that same chain, do a second double crochet. Now this is where, at this point, this is where things are going to start to get asymmetric. Things are relatively symmetric right now, offset, but symmetric. Next row, yep, things are going to start to shift a little bit. So this is what you should have at this point. Alrighty. Okay, row 4. Again, going to start by chaining up of 2. And again, because of the asymmetric nature of this piece, we're going to do a double crochet into that first stitch, increasing this edge. And then double crochet into the next double crochet. So we have 3. Now, what I would strongly suggest is, because it's very easy to get lost if you're not paying attention to this edge, what I would suggest is perhaps using a stitch marker on this side. Just, around the post is fine, or a piece of yarn, something like that, just so that you know which side is which, because they grow differently. So this marker is going to signify that this is the increase side, where these end stitches will get increased every row, okay? Starting or finishing, either way. All right, so moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Okay, need a chaining of 2. There we go. Always with the chain 2 spaces. Now, because, again, with the asymmetry, we have a double crochet in the chain space. Well, that's how we're going to start. We're still going to have 3 double crochets, but again, they're shifting over, in this case, to the right. So after doing your chaining up of 2, your chain space of 2, double crochet into that chain space right there, and then double into the next 2 double crochet stitches. So it's going to shift over more so and increase at the same time. Chain 2, double into the chain space, and then double in the next 2 stitches. Chain 2, double in the chain space, double in the next 2 doubles, chain 2, double in the chain space, and into each stitch a double. Chain 2, double in the chain space, double in each stitch, chain 2, double in the chain space, and in each stitch. Chain 2, double in the chain space, and into the next 2 double crochets at the end. And then into the top of this one, which is the second chain from the bottom. And there we go. So you can see that we have 3 on either side while it's still shifting. Alrighty, onwards and upwards to row 5. Okay, row 5, start by chaining up of 2, turn the work. Now, because we are shifting again, in this case, we're shifting to the left, we will be able to get that increase without having to increase on the side here. So do not go into this first stitch because we don't have the marker on this side. Go into that second stitch and the next double, and then into the chain space with a double. So we went from 3 to 4 because we have the shift going on. So chain 2, double into the next 3 stitches, and then into the chain space. And we're going to do that all the way across. And then into the chain space, chain 2, double into each double, and then the chain space, because we need that total of 4, chain 2, double in each double, and then the chain space. There we go. Pull out some more yarn as needs be. Chain 2, double in the doubles, and then in the chain space, chain 2, double in the doubles, and then into the chain space, chain 2, double in the doubles, and double into the chain space, chain 2, double into the next 3 doubles, and because we don't have a chain space, and this is the increase side, it's going to be 2 doubles into the last stitch, because we need that count to continue to remain consistent with the rest of the row. So we've got 3, we need 1 more. There we are. So at this point, your piece should look something like this. It's so pretty. I love it. All right, let's keep going. Okay, row 6. All right, now because this is the increase side where we do our 2 in the same stitch on the one side, so I'm going to start off by chaining up 2, turn the work, and double crochet into that first stitch. So we've got 2 coming out of that same stitch right there, and then double into each stitch. So right now we have a total of 5. Okay, and then chain 2 and double into the chain space because it's growing to the right slant. So double into the chain space and then double in each for a total of 5. chain 2, double in the chain space, and then the next 4 for a total of 5. And we're going to do this all the way across until we reach the end where something different is going to happen. So stick around. All right, so we've got our 5, chain 2, double into the chain space, and each of the next 4 doubles. Chain 2, double into the chain space, and into each of the next 4 stitches. Chain 2, double in the chain space, each of the next 4 stitches. There we go. Chain 2, double in the chain space, each of the next 4. Chain 2, double into the chain space, each of the next 4 stitches, and then at the end, we are going to create a new segment. And this is what's going to create the swirl effect. And it also comes into play with the pattern repeat. Okay, so we've got our 5. Now, chain 2 and double crochet in the same stitch that we just created. So now we have an eyelet, a little fillet eyelet at the edge here, and this is going to create a new wedge, just like this one right here, over time. So that is the end of row 6. So yeah, I mean, these segments here, they keep growing at the same exact rate, but it's this edge over here which gives it an asymmetric appearance, which I really, really love. So let's keep going. Alrighty. Okay, row 7. So this is more or less the beginning of the repeat. It's rows 7, 8, 9, and 10. Just keep repeating these rows as many times as you want to. So starting off by chaining up of 2, turn the work, and double crochet into that chain 2 space, chain 2, double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches, and then into the chain space, because we are, in this case, shifting to the left. And so just keep on keeping on in this same fashion until you reach the end. So we've got 4, and then 5, and then double into the chain space. So right now we have a total of 6 doubles. Chain 2, double in each of the next 5 stitches, and then into the chain space. Okay, and then into the chain space, chain 2, double into each of the next 5 stitches, and then into the chain space. There we go. And then chain 2, and so on and so forth until you reach the end. And because this is the increase side, be sure that you do 2 double crochets into that last stitch so that you end up with a total of 6 doubles at the end. All right, so I'm going to finish this row off camera and I will meet back up with you for row 8. Okay, row 8. All right, so at the end of row 7, like I said, you should have a total of 6 double crochets at the end of row 7 with 2 in the side there. I moved my marker up, by the way. And so for row 8, start off by chaining up of 2, turn your work. And again, this is the increase side, so double crochet into that first stitch to increase. So we've got 2 in that first one, and then a double into each of these stitches here. So now we should have, what, a total of 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, from here, chain 2. And then because these stitches are shifting to the right, after chaining 2, double crochet into the chain space and double crochet into the next 6 stitches for a total of 7. There we go. Chain 2, double crochet into the chain space. So we have that shift going on. And then each of the next 6 stitches for the total of 7, and so on and so forth for the rest of row 8. And this last one right here, chain 2, double into the chain space, and then each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, and just keep on going in this fashion all the way until you reach the end. Now, because this edge is not the increase edge, what you're going to do is, actually, you know what? I'll meet back up with you when I come to this point, just to, keep things clear, all right? I'll be right back. Okay, so I kept stitching exactly as I was. And like I said, I wanted to touch base with you, for this edge here. So I still need to do this segment here. So I'm going to chain 2, double crochet into the chain space as per usual. double crochet into the next 6 stitches. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We need that total of 7. Okay, so at this point, going to chain 2, double crochet into the chain space, and then double crochet into the last 2. So we're going from 1 to 2, and we're going to have 3 double crochet stitches. So there is an increase on both sides. They just work a little bit differently. Okay. I hope this clears things up a little bit. All right. So that is the end of row 8. Row 9. Okay, starting off as per usual with a chaining up of 2. Turn the work. And seeing as how this is not the marked side, the increased side, going to do a double crochet into the second stitch. And the next double, and then the chain space, because we are shifting to the left. So right now we've got 4. When we hit 5, that is when we create the new eyelet. Now, if you look down here, so we've got 5 on the wedge. That's when we start the new eyelet, but we're not there yet. So from here, chain 2 and double crochet into each stitch. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then double crochet into the chain space to make 8. Chain 2, double into each stitch, and then into the chain space again to create 8. And we're going to do this all the way until we reach the end of the row. Okay, and then into the chain space. Chain 2, double into each double. And then into the chain space, so that we have a total of 8 doubles. So keep doing this exact same thing for the remaining segments. And when you reach the last segment, because this is the increase side, again, be sure to do 2 double crochets into this last stitch. It's the top of the second chain, so that you have 8 doubles on this last segment as well. Alrighty, so I will meet back up with you when I finish this row. Alrighty. Okay, row 10. All right, so at the end of row 9, ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 doubles, because again, this is the increase side. And we're going to continue to do such by chaining up 2, turn the work, and double crochet into the first double crochet stitch, and then the remaining stitches. So we'll have a total of 9 doubles. So I've already got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, then chain 2, and because the doubles are shifting to the right after chaining 2, double into the chain space and double into each stitch for the total of 9. Now, as you continue to work on making your shawl, 8 of your segments are going to remain consistent as far as their rate of growth for the rest of the project. However, on the one side where we create new segments, that's going to be, of course, the different side. So, I mean, for most of the project, I mean, it's going to be pretty consistent, you know, because we've got these 8 here, but it's just on this one side that the stitch counts do change a little bit as far as their rate of growth. So that's why I use the marker. Any little trick does help. Okay, so we did those, and then chain 2, and then double into the chain space, and then in each. Now, another thing is that I opted to create this as a 4-row repeat so that you have new eyelets, new segments forming when you get up to 5 doubles. However, you can change that around, you know. I don't see any reason why not. If you want your segments initially to be bigger or smaller, you know, have fun with that. I don't see any reason why versatility can't be employed. But this is what I opted for. Now, results may vary because I haven't experimented that far into it, but so we did our chain 2, double into the chain space, and then a double into each. Now, also, as far as where you end your project, you could just do the full repeat of rows 7 through 10 as many times as you want to, and then end on a row 10 if you so choose. So I did my chaining up 2, and then double into the chain space, and then a double into each. I do get a lot of questions on what row do I end on. Well, I mean, so often is the case, I would say it's actually a matter of personal preference, or when the yarn runs out. Either or works for me. But I'm going to show you what you can do. And I'm going to show you what I did, actually. So chain 2, double into the chain 2 space, and then double into each. But right now we're going to work it as if we were going to continue on with the repeat. Okay, well, we're getting there. Chain 2, double into the chain space. And then into each. Also, the other thing is I really don't think that this shawl needs any sort of edging. I think that it's quite beautiful on its own. I don't think it needs any extra embellishments. Personal opinion. Okay. Chain 2, double into the chain space, and then 1 in each. There we go. Getting there, getting there. Okay. Chain 2. Double into the chain space. And then into each of the next 4 stitches at the end, so that we will have a total of 5. There we go. Now, technically speaking, yes, you could end at this point, which is more or less what I did. And then, you would cut your yarn, sew in your ends, boom. But of course, if you want to keep going, you would chain 2 and double crochet into that same stitch and start on creating a new segment with this new eyelet. And yeah, you would just keep going on and on and on. So if you were to keep going back to row 7, you would chain up 2, turn the work, double crochet into the chain space, chain 2, double into each stitch, and then when you reach the eyelet, you would double crochet into the chain space, chain 2, double crochet into each, double crochet into the eyelet, because again, the stitches are shifting to the left. So double crochet into that chain space, chain 2, double into each, double into the chain space, chain 2, and so on and so on and so forth. And that is how you would keep, excuse me, that is how you would keep going with the repeat. So like I said, you have these smaller segments that keep getting added on while the rest of the first 8 here remain consistent. I hope that makes sense. All right, my dears, so that concludes the Filet Swirl Crescent Shawl. I really hope that you liked it. I had a lot of fun coming up with this pattern. It was a lot of work, but I think it's totally worth it, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know I appreciate your appreciation. Yep. Also, if you like these videos, do hit that subscribe button for more because I do post videos every week religiously, um, whether it's crocheting or knitting or audiobook narration, a little bit of origami, a little bit in the kitchen, and of course, I have another YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do video game playthrough and commentary. Timestamps for this project are in the description box down below, as well as some other links. So thank you very much for joining me today and watching. And until next time, you know what to do. I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.